Hi, my name is Emily Potosny. I'm Sustainability Engagement Manager in the Office of Sustainability at Pitt. And this afternoon, we're going to be going through an introduction to Pitt's Green Lab program and how you can get one started in your office. So we always begin our presentations by sharing the university's definition for sustainability because our surveys show this is still something that's a little unfamiliar to a lot of folks on campus. And it's important to understanding how we approach sustainability and our goals and initiatives. So the university defines sustainability as balancing equity, environment, and economics so current and future generations can thrive. So all three of these pillars must be considered and supported through our goals and initiatives. So equity has to be upheld so that everyone benefits, that resources are accessible, and we address disparities that create imbalance and injustice in our systems. Our goals and initiatives have to make economic sense. So when we create strategies to meet our goals, we're looking for ways to save university resources, whether that's immediate payback or avoiding future costs. And our strategies have to protect our environment, ecosystems, and build resilience and ecological health. So the university has created its sustainability plan in 2018, and it lays out 61 different goals that we are measuring and tracking in three key themes. Stewardship, which deals with how we operate as a campus, the emissions that we produce, and our impact on the local environment. Exploration, which deals with how we embed sustainability in our academics and research. And community and culture, which deals with how we create a campus culture of sustainability, as well as promote sustainability through our partnerships and leadership in the region and the world. And within each of those themes, we have 5 different impact areas, which you can see here. And within all of these impact areas are our 61 different strategic measurable goals. So core to the sustainability plan and its success is engagement and awareness, how we weave a culture of sustainability into the everyday fabric of our campus and community. Sustainability is already a core value of our community. So this is from our most recent Sustainability Literacy and Culture Survey of the Pitt community at large, which was conducted every 3 years. And over 94% of our community said that Pitt's overall commitment to sustainability is moderately to extremely important. So in this survey, we also asked what is most important that Pitt address. And as you can see, energy and emissions remains the top issue, and waste diversion has similarly been top of folks' mind for the last several years across lots of different ways of looking at the Pitt community. And so through the sustainability plan, we're working to address many of these key issues. In 2023, we also released our progress report on the sustainability plan's different goals, measuring which are met, which are on track, which are off track, and which are unclear. And this is available for you to read on our website. Further, in 2020, Pitt committed to be a carbon neutral campus by 2037. Building on our initial sustainability plan goal of reducing emissions 50% by 2030. So in 2022, we released the Pitt Climate Action Plan, which details the strategies that we'll use, energy demand reduction, cleaning up our supply, low carbon connections, and leading the way to climate neutral to get to this carbon neutral goal. And you can look for updates on Pitt's progress on the Climate Action Plan with our annual greenhouse gas inventory, which is published on our website in detail, down to the individual categories that make up these 3 scopes pictured here through 2023. And we do those each on a fiscal year. So 2024 will be released soon. And you can check out even more data about our building energy use, water use, compostable collection, and a whole lot more on our live Tableau dashboards. So if Pitt's progress on our climate action commitments and sustainability plan are of interest to you, definitely check out these resources. But today we're here to talk about you as operators or administrators of lab spaces on campus and how you can operate your labs more sustainability. So folks are advancing sustainability on campus already in lots of different ways, whether that's recycling, composting, avoiding single-use items, promoting equity, diversity, and inclusion, or making different commuter mode choices, and using less energy. So as individuals, there are lots of additional ways that you can be sustainable on campus, but as lab operators, there are unique and uniquely impactful opportunities that we'll review today. Before we launch into those though, I want to thank you all for joining today and also recognize the strengths and knowledge that already exist in this group. Your personal strengths and passions, the value of your work and function within the university, your energy and your attention. None of these initiatives that we'll talk about today are possible without all that you already bring to the table. So before we move on, I do just want to take a moment to reflect on these three questions. You can feel free to write your responses in the chat or just think about them yourself. How do you already practice sustainability in your day-to-day? What choices do you already make to save resources, both in your home or here on campus? So think about all those. And when you're thinking about them, I want you to think about the ecosystem that makes an oak tree thrive. And everyone in the Pitt community is part of this Pitt ecosystem. So in the same way, what we do each day as individuals affects, interacts with, and contributes to our progress towards these 61 different goals set in the sustainability plan and affects our campus and community ecosystem. So what you care about, the habits and practices that you already keep, and the knowledge that you already have about sustainability are unique strengths that are already making an impact. So the programs I'll introduce today are just ways to recognize and promote those strengths and bring them to the forefront of our campus culture and shared values. So now on to the Pitt Green programs. So Green Labs are one part of a network of Pitt Green engagement programs, which include the Green Office Program, Green Resident Program, Green Host Program, and more. So these are managed by different areas, but the Office of Sustainability manages our Green Lab and Green Office program. So the work of the Green Lab is really in organizing your team and keeping simple daily habits. So we've tried to make gaining designation as simple as possible. So to join or to resubmit, it only takes 3 steps. First, gathering your team of coworkers, then reviewing the Grow Your Green Office guides with your team and determining what sustainable actions you already do and what you'd like to do as you move forward. And then have someone on the team submit the self-assessment online using our Qualtrics form. So to start familiarizing yourself and your team with the sustainability initiatives here on campus, I would recommend starting with the Employee Green Guide. So this is available on the Pitt Sustainability website, sustainable.pitt.edu. And here you'll find easy and helpful links to topics that you might want to explore, things like printing, purchasing, transportation, waste, or even coffee. So this is a helpful first step for you or any of your colleagues who are interested in becoming a Green Lab, as it'll introduce you to a variety of sustainability topics and initiatives here on campus that you might be familiar with or might be new to you. In particular to labs, you can check out our Green Labs resources page, which provides tips and connections to university programs to help you save energy, water, reduce material waste, and chemical waste in your lab. So this is a great place to start before you dive into our next resource, which is the Grow Your Green Lab planning tool. So this is an Excel workbook that you'll find as a downloadable tool on our website on that Green Lab resources page. So this tool is designed to help you walk through your lab and talk through your habits with your coworkers. After independently reviewing the Green Lab resources and the Employee Green Guide, this can be a really great tool to have open at your first meeting with your coworkers to talk about your sustainable actions that you already keep in your lab and track those as complete, as well as to plan future action that you'd like to take. So this is also a resource that we can do with your lab and with your team. We are available for one-on-one assistance as you're just getting introduced to this program or as you want to take on some new initiatives in your lab. So once you have completed that planning tool, which is not a requirement, just a resource that's available to you, you'll already be familiar with all of the actions that you'll see in our Qualtrics survey. So actually submitting your Qualtrics self-assessment is just the step to formalize your Green Lab submission. So we recommend doing this once you feel comfortable with and familiar with all the actions your lab is already taking, and have some plans for ones to take in the future. So this should take less than 5 minutes to submit if you're already familiar with all of the different actions that are outlined in that planning workbook. So after you submit your Qualtrics assessment, after a couple of weeks, you'll be notified of your ranking. And this is based off the scoring of your assessment. So the rankings are modeled after the stages of an oak tree to symbolize our ability to grow and nurture sustainability in our daily lives and here on campus. And those are from seed to sprout, sapling to sustainable oak. So what are some of the benefits of becoming a green office or lab? So you'll become a part of a community of engaged professionals, over 1,400 strong here on campus at this point. So we want to bring these folks together on a regular basis through webinars and workshops, as well as a once-a-year celebration to engage in these kinds of conversations and questions that can open up a dialogue between your team and our office to help recognize opportunities for more sustainable operations and initiatives here on campus. So you'll become a part of that. You'll be able to recognize who are the different green offices and labs around campus with these stickers that you see in the top right corner here. And you'll also get a nice little plaque. So we worked with the local artists to create these awards using reclaimed wood and low VOC materials. They're also designed so the award will grow with your department. So every time you level up, that green ranking that you see on the bottom there will be switched out with your new ranking. And so for the green offices and labs, we do require that you resubmit every 2 years. And this is just so that if there are changes in your office structure, your location, and your staffing, you have an opportunity to review and update everybody in your office about the practices that you try and keep, as well as to see what changes we've made in the program as we do update it on an annual basis with new initiatives and actions that are happening here on campus and that we've learned of from different participating offices and labs. So when you do all of this, you're going to become the part of this growing cohort. We are now, as I mentioned, at over 1,400 staff and faculty who are involved in labs and offices, in over 84 offices and 53 labs. We also have a faculty and staff development program, partnership with HR, the Pitt Sustainability Professional Certificate Program. We offer those courses in the spring and the fall every year if you want to learn more about sustainability as a topic and also here on campus. There are currently 59 graduates and over 372 folks who are taking those classes. Once you have completed those courses and completed a quiz about sustainability, you're eligible to become a Pitt Green Ambassador, which is our peer mentorship program, as well as kind of a volunteer leadership cohort to support sustainability initiatives here on campus. There are several other pathways to becoming a Pitt Green Ambassador, including being an active part of a Green Lab or office for 2 years or more. So now I'm going to review some best practices based on action items in the Green Lab program, which you'll find in the planning tool and in the self-assessment. So I'm going to introduce these in the order that I'd recommend, focusing on easy and impactful wins. So as we go through these next slides, make a mental note or even a real note in the planning tool of things that sound interesting or challenging to you. So starting with energy and emissions. We have a goal in the sustainability plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions 50% by 2030 and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2037, which we committed to in 2020. So this is our waterfall pathway to neutrality in that Pitt Climate Action Plan. And you'll see that energy demand reductions account for 12.3% of the reduction in our emissions that we're going to be looking for to meet this goal by 2037. So the university is approaching this in some systemic ways. So that includes updating our buildings, both with renovation and new construction, to be more efficient in their use of energy and water through building design, HVAC systems, lighting systems, things like that. And so one of the metrics that we use, or one of the programs that we use to make sure that we're meeting those standards of efficient use of water and energy is LEED, and that stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, which is a globally recognized rating system for holistic sustainability in construction, design, building operation, and renovation run through the U.S. Green Building Council. So we now have 17 LEED certified projects and 13 more that are in construction and design here on campus. And that includes all these projects that you've seen worked on around campus and some ones that are under design as well. So you can see energy use intensity across all our buildings on campus on our live dashboard that I mentioned earlier. And you can get a sense of it here, but just thinking through the buildings we have on campus, what do you think would use the most energy per square foot? If you guessed our lab and medical buildings, you'd be correct. And this largely has to do with the equipment that's used for research. By a quick show of hands, just how many folks that are here have an ultra low temperature freezer or multiple ULTs in their lab? So think about that ULT and think if it's older than 2017 or older than 2008. So at Pitt, we do a lot of medical research, and a study conducted by the National Institute of Health showed that if a freezer isn't maintained and defrosted on a regular basis, it generates closer to 18,000 pounds of carbon dioxide emissions. And looking at the university's purchasing data, we have about 440 of these older ultra low temperature freezers on campus. And out of the labs that we interviewed, none have been doing routine defrosting. So these freezers are generating approximately 3,592 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents per year. So that's equivalent to driving almost 800 cars over 11,000 miles a year, which costs the university about 1 million a year in energy costs. So there are a couple best practices that you can use in the lab to keep your ULT operating more efficiently. So the first is to consider chilling up your freezers. So advancements in technology allowed ULTs to reach -80 some time ago, but most samples don't need to be stored at this lower -80 temperature and can safely be stored at -70. Many research universities have been tracking this chill up program, and there's a great database of samples proven to be safely stored at -70 on our website. So studies show that an average ULT uses as much energy as an entire house, but by chilling up just that 10 degrees Celsius, you can reduce the energy consumption of a ULT 37%, which saves as much energy over a year to power 135 houses for a day per ULT. So the best practice with your ULT is also to defrost on an annual basis, like we were just talking about. So this makes sure the system in your freezer is functioning most efficiently and can reduce energy usage by an additional 10%. So this means just focusing on behavior change alone, we can reduce the amount of energy a lab or a ULT uses by 47%. Also, if your ULT is nearing the end of its lifespan, you can consider upgrading to a new, highly efficient ULT. The energy savings in this can be significant. So let's look at that old freezer compared to a newer ULT. That older freezer in your lab uses 20 kilowatt hours a day, according to the Department of Energy, which equals over 6,000 pounds of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions per year. So by switching over to a typical Energy Star model, or the most energy efficient model on the market, you could avoid up to 5,604 pounds per year. So through partnership with the SBC for Research, we have a really great opportunity right now for labs to receive a rebate of up to 30% for the purchase of a new energy efficient ULT to replace devices from 2018 or earlier, and up to 60% for the consolidation of 2 ULTs to one of these more efficient ULTs. So we're accepting applications for this now, and if you are in a Pitt operated building, you can apply for this program. Another area where you can look to save significant energy in your lab is with fume hoods. So an open fume hood can use as much energy in a day as 3 or 4 homes. So you want to make sure that you keep with the best practice of keeping that sash open only when actively working in the fume hood, and not just do things like store chemicals or reagents inside the working area of the fume hood to further minimize opening and shutting of that hood. So if you'd like to post a reminder, EH&S and the Office of Sustainability have shut the sash reminder stickers to place near your fume hoods. So you can use this link here to go to our form that'll get you to receive those stickers. So there are lots of other ways that you can save energy in your office or lab. And you can start by assessing what equipment and devices you regularly have plugged in and turned on, and establishing a shutdown or standby protocol for those devices. So this is already a common practice for labs, but reassessing with energy saving in mind, in addition to the integrity of your research, may reveal new opportunities for efficiency. So what energy saving behaviors can you practice in your lab? You can reduce plug loads or energy vampires by making sure all your monitors, printers, etc. are all set to hibernate after a certain period without use. and by unplugging devices or setting them on a power strip to shut off at the end of the day and during school breaks. So consolidating devices, whether they be printers, fans, heaters, or other appliances, can also result in energy savings. And finally, lighting accounts for most of the electricity use in our commercial buildings. So maximizing the use of daylight instead of overhead lights, creating protocols to shut off lights in unoccupied rooms, and trading out overhead lighting for or task lighting for energy efficient LEDs can help reduce energy use as well. So we have several waste related goals in the Pitt Sustainability Plan, but the biggest and broadest one is to reduce landfill waste 25% by 2030. And this can be met in two ways: by reducing total waste total waste produced, and by diverting waste from the landfill. So the best practice is source reduction, which simply means looking for ways to reduce. This means instead of handing out swag to every person, try a raffle, or better yet, give away experiences. Eliminating purchasing single-use items, reducing packaging. And there are some things that you can do in the lab to reduce at the source. So scaling down experiments where possible, so that you minimize material use that you need to complete your operations. Replacing single-use plastic lab processes with reusable glass that you can autoclave wherever possible. Doing things like checking some of our shared resources on campus, including the EH&S Chemical Redistribution Program, Pitt Surplus, the Dietrich Stockroom, and the School of Engineering shared equipment list before purchasing anything new. And then also using shared resources in the lab as well as your office spaces. We run an event every year called Pitt Clean and Swap, usually on the third week of May. So we just actually held this a little while ago. But at this event, you can donate medical and lab supplies. These can be both new or opened and unopened. They can even be close to expiration for use in things like teaching labs. But you can come to this event, which is typically held in the O'Hara Student Center, and pick from among the items that have been donated to take them back to your lab and use them and give them a second life. So this is a way to reduce items that are going to landfill. And then anything left at the end of this event goes to our nonprofit partner Global Links for redistribution to clinics throughout the world. So I mentioned before that one of the places you can look for items first on campus before you order new is Pitt Surplus. So they've been around for a long time here on campus, making sure that university resources stay in our supply chain and continue to be used and reused. So you can always go and check their online inventory for things like electronics, furniture, and they also have things like lab equipment. So this is a great place to check first before you order anything new. And I mentioned EH&S's Chemical Redistribution Program. So this is a great service that EH&S offers, both as a way to help minimize and contain chemicals and hazards in labs, but they collect and keep an up-to-date inventory of unopened chemicals that they collect from labs. And you can go and check out that inventory and order any of these free unopened chemicals for your lab. So I recommend going and checking that out as well before you order anything new. So the next best practice is to purchase items that are recyclable or compostable here on campus. So this means knowing the requirements. For example, if you're trying to buy a compostable fork, it has to be BPI certified or have this ASTM D6400 or 6868 certification. We have a whole series of webinars and slides available for you to learn about this. But we use single stream recycling here on campus. So you can check out the signage for what is accepted in our recycling here on campus, as well as compost on our website, as well as where we accept compost on campus. It's not currently available in every building. But for recycling, the largest thing that we hear questions about really is plastics. So in the lab, you shouldn't be putting plastics from the lab that aren't bottles, jugs, or jars into the recycling, as well as, of course, anything that has any hazardous material or biohazardous material into it. But if you have regular bottles, jugs, or jars that are plastic, those can go in the recycling, along with our metals, glass, cardboard, and paper. And there you go. This is an example of our signage that we have in multiple sizes and orientations on the Pitt Sustainability website, available for you to print out and post anywhere in your lab, or on the containers in your lab. And Pitt offers a variety of specialty waste diversion options for things like textiles, batteries, toners, and ink, as well as composting in certain locations. And you can check out this map on our zero waste page to see all of those locations on campus and find the one closest to you. So one pilot program that we're excited about is the Pipette Tip Box Recycling Pilot, partnered with Polycarbon. So this program is available in a few buildings around campus, for building-wide collection of the boxes and refill wafers from Pipette tips. We chose this material as it is highly voluminous. It is something that takes up a lot of space in the garbage trucks around campus, or sorry, the garbage dumpsters around campus. And so we have been collecting these for diversion to Polycarbon, who take this material and process it into new lab plastics. So if you want to check this out, you can go to this site on our website. And currently the collection for this is in Clapp, Langley, and Crawford, the School of Public Health, and Salk, as well as Chevron. Another way that we're looking to reduce waste through source reduction is partnering with Fisher and Purchasing on a pilot program to get their most sustainable products to Green Labs through our Green Lab sample box. So in this program, you'll get 20 different samples of products from the Greener supply line from Fisher Scientific. So they all have some different attribute that makes them more sustainable, whether it's being produced in a facility that's powered by renewable energy or more locally, or it's a material that is accepted in the recycling at Pitt, or the compost. So you can check that out here on our website and order yourself a Green Lab sample box for 1 cent through the Dietrich stockroom. And then moving on to some more generic best practices for your Green Lab, I always encourage folks to begin with identifying and engaging your team that'll be a part of your Green Lab efforts. So we've also adjusted the program to recognize the value of this engagement and coordination with a lot of new points that are available to you for these exact actions. So you'll note that some of these actions are covered in those initial steps that we discussed, like reviewing the employee green guide, for instance, and that's by design to recognize the effort that it takes to begin and learn about these resources. So I definitely encourage starting here. And then getting into commuting. So there's lots of opportunities to make more sustainable choices related to transportation here on campus, and it really matters for our campus sustainability efforts. So we encourage folks, whether they're in a lab or an office, to review Pitt's Mobility's sustainable commuting options, including carpool and van pooling. There's a really great program called Commute Info, which is operated by the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission, and you can enter your commute, start and end points, as well as the schedule that you tend to keep, including whether you work from home certain days, and it'll show you the folks either in the Pitt network, if you choose to only see those folks, or everybody that's in the Commute Info system that might be a good carpooling match for you. Then you can choose to connect with them in the system and create that carpool opportunity. We also encourage folks to use virtual meetings when possible, and work remotely when possible, as their duties allow. And finally, campus paper reduction has been a really kind of bright spot for sustainability in the last couple of years. So the university has seen a really drastic reduction in paper use since the pandemic. It's down and remains down 70% from fiscal year 19, and that's largely due to virtual work and study, and that's increased our adoption of digital tools. So Pitt IT has a lot of resources and software to replace paper systems, from forms for signature and DocuSign to sharing documents with SharePoint. So we encourage folks to do that wherever possible, to use electronic research notebooks wherever possible, to consolidate your desktop printers if you're still using them, and move over to a shared multifunction device. These also create good opportunities for creating just some default settings that'll help to save paper by using duplex and black and white printing as the default, as well as having tap to release features on those new multifunction devices. And then finally, we encourage folks to recycle or reuse all their paper if you only do one-sided, and then to purchase recycled content paper. We have just recently in the last year negotiated some really great pricing on 30, 50, and 100% recycled content paper with Supra and ODP, our office supplier. So you can definitely check that out and make the switch, especially if you're using a lot less paper these days. So we reviewed a lot of sustainable actions and best practices that you can implement in your lab. And of course, there are a whole lot more in the Grow Your Green lab guide. But now I just wanted to take some time to digest and consider what it would be like to apply these best practices. So I encourage you to take those questions forward with you. And if you have any questions for me or would like to follow up about creating your green lab, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.